Okay, we're live.
So you can take it. Good evening, and welcome to Build Your Best Life with Deborah D. Smith. I'm here with my girlfriend, Carol. We are ready for coffee chat.
Yes, we are. I got my coffee.
Ooh, yes, we are ready.
All right. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. And I am excited again to see you, my girlfriend, and one more time. And we got great content tonight, and I'm looking so forward to our chat tonight. So everyone just continue to come on in. Yes. Well, tonight we started talking last month about purpose, talents, skills, and going deeper. So last month we talked about why it is essential to establish goals and determine your passion. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses is also vital in you becoming successful. You must continuously work to make your strong attributes better and better. We have to continue to do that, right? But although goals are essential, we talked about the fact that goals can be haphazard or sound. They can be haphazard or sound. This information is relevant to one building their best lives. And we need to continue our conversation tonight on our purpose and our talents and our skills and just simply going deeper. So, Deborah, question for you. God gives us talents, right?
Yes.
So how do we make the best of our gifts along with resources? God gives us talents, but how do we make the best of our gifts along with resources?
Oh, Carol, once we have our gifts, and some people know what their gifts are, some don't. But even if they don't know what that is right now, they at least should have goals. And our goals are essential. But one of the things that a lot of people don't do, they just say, well, I have a goal. I want to be a cosmetologist. However, they don't say how they expect to get there. So they have to not only just take that God-given talent that they have, but they have to put those goals into SMART goals to make them meaningful. So they have to, make them specific. I want to be a cosmetologist when I complete high school. So that's being specific. When you're talking about doing it after you complete high school, it needs to be measurable. I know it's going to take me 18 months to do it. And then attainable, the A. Is it
Mhm.
attainable? Yes. You have that talent. You already do hair, but you know you have to be licensed. So you need to make sure that, hey, yeah, it is attainable. This is something that I can do. I know where I can get the money from to go to cosmetologist school. So I'm good there. And then is it realistic? Does it make sense? You're not saying that you want to do something and you haven't a clue whether you would be good at doing makeup or whatever. This is something you're already doing. So it is realistic. And
Mhm.
then you've already said you're going to start when you complete high school. You know when that is, in a couple months. And it takes you 18 months. So you have that time frame in mind. So you are on a good start to getting that thing done.
Mhm.
But then when you talk about those resources, how do you get these things done? So like if somebody wants to be a cosmetologist, then they can't go to a school to be an engineer. They got to go to the right school.
Right.
So you got to do some research and find
Mhm.
out what it is that you need to do. You need to read. Reading, they say reading is fundamental, but it is. You can learn so much from
Mhm.
reading. Then
Mhm.
there are online courses, there are webinars. So, you may say, well, yeah, I know I want to be in the cosmetology area, but I don't know if it's hair that I want to do, or if it's makeup that I want to do.
Mhm.
I just want to do, some people just specialize maybe in eyebrows or whatever. So if
Mhm.
you don't know, then you do some of that research. And then
Mhm.
when you find out what it is, then you go in to get those specialty that you need.
Mhm.
And then always mentors, coaches, role models, those people out there that can help you.
Mhm.
That is so, so very important.
Mhm.
And hello, Linda and Peggy. Thank y'all for tuning in. We are having fun here.
So, Miss Deborah, you're saying that we do have to set our goals, and you use the SMART goal acronym to talk about how you have to have some type of a time frame in mind, how you're going to get to where you want to go. And I love what you said, you got to be realistic. So I think you're saying that, even if you know what you want to do, you got to have an opportunity to read and research and then begin to look for the resources. And I think, like you just said, when we read, we'll find ways to find resources after, we continue to research. So you got to be willing to do those kinds of things that's going to help you reach those goals. Because like you said, gifts are one thing, but goals are something else. And you can begin to work on goals, but you got to make sure you're being realistic and have a time frame. I love that. I'm not good with that, but I'm working on a time frame. So yeah, but anyway, so we do have people tuning in. I see Miss Linda on here and everybody. So yeah. Well, if they have that and they're working on getting, doing the reading, doing the research, doing and looking for the resources. And then you added one other thing I love is that you have to look for people who are willing to help you, because there's always someone out there that's willing to help each one of us, right?
Right.
But we got to look for them, right? It's got to be
Right. And not,
do some, and
most people not just go
do some
volunteer.
research on them as well, when you think.
Right.
Absolutely. But you said in your book that you advocate the L, the L, the L. I like that. And the LLL simply means advocating lifelong learners. What does the quote from Les Brown tell us in your book as far as being a lifelong learner?
Well, this is quote was, accept responsibility for your life, know that it is you who will get you where you want to go, no one
Mhm.
else. So that tells us, that you have to be accountable and
Mhm.
self-disciplined. There are people who are assigned to help you, but you have got to do, you have got to want it yourself. You have
Mhm.
to have a passion for it.
Mhm.
You have to do the work for it, and you have to be responsible for it. And the way that you do that, you just don't wake up one day and say you want to do something and then you just, oh well, it'll just fall down in my lap. You have got to do the due diligence for that. So that's
Absolutely.
why you need to be a lifelong learner, because you have to keep after that,
Mhm.
because like Coach Miller always tells us, he'll always have a coach, because you're always teachable. You know,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
always teachable.
How to got you have, and that's huge. You have to stay teachable, because if when you get to the point that you are not teachable, you are actually going to stay stagnated, and you're not going to be able to accomplish anything if you think that you already know everything that you need to know. So you've now added another R there. You said, in addition to resources and reading and research, you got to take responsibility for it, right?
Right.
And you can't wait on things to fall in your lap. And sometimes people have been guilty of doing that. But to me, that goes back to what you said. That's kind of haphazardly coming up with a goal or a plan. You're not even really thinking that out. So we don't want to be haphazardly planning our goals, and we want to be able to make sure that when someone helps us, we have to take responsibility and not just look for that person to do everything for you. You have to be willing to get some things done on your own, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, you said, why is it essential? Or my question is, why is it essential to be accountable for for what you absorb? You just talked about being responsible. So now I'm asking, what do we need to do to that? Why is essential? It's essential to be accountable for what you absorb, and share more with us on this statement. Be accountable for what you absorb.
Okay, I will, but I want to, we had some good comments coming in here.
Okay, well, let's look at the comments then.
Okay, there's one up
And
there now.
Miss Della said, you're never too old to learn new things in life. You are always learning. I agree. Never too old.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Peggy says, stay teachable.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to think another one from Della.
Yeah, I love that one from Della. The fat.
Right.
Fat. Yeah, I love that one, Miss Della. Faithful, available, and teachable. I'm still in that one. That's really good, huh?
That's really good.
Faithful, available, and teachable. You must stay in that order. I love that. Thank you, Miss Della.
Yeah.
So you're going to talk to us about how we have to learn to be accountable for absorbing what we're accountable for, and to absorb it, and share more with us on that. So what else would you share with us about absorbing? I think about a sponge. You got to be willing to absorb that. Yeah, right.
Right. Well, quality information produces excellent results. Quality information produces excellent results. So when you are in that learning phase, are you distracted? When you're supposed to be developing yourself and learning, are you just really focused on what you're supposed to be learning, or are you distracted? And then what type of information are you receiving? Are you receiving something negative or positive? So you're supposed to be always about being better. This is about building your best life. So if someone is in your space and they're talking negative, that's what you're going to absorb, the negative. If it's something positive, then of course it's something positive. Then we say read. Reading is so important. It's so important. But what are you reading? Are you taking your time to read a romance novel? Are you reading something about self-development? What are you reading? And then are you listening to, everybody has their own style of music, but when you listen to music, are you listening to it for the beat? Are you just listening to those illicit tracks? Now, those are the ones that you just got in here. And I'm like, what in the world?
That's not going to be positive for building for actually reaching your goals, and those kind of things. So that wouldn't be positive, I don't think.
All right. So whatever is around you, what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're receiving, that stuff absorbs into your spirit. So those are the type qualities that you are absorbing. That's what you're getting in.
So what you take in is what you literally is going to have to put out or take out, right? Because what you absorb into your mind and into your body and into your spirit that's exactly what you're going to become. It's just like speaking those words, that you're going to hear all that negative stuff. That's what you're going to absorb, and that's what you're going to begin to talk about and put out there in the atmosphere. So you're so right. We've got to be careful in absorbing, which is good, but what are you absorbing? And are you absorbing things that's going to be positive? Because that's crucial, because if you're not, you won't ever accomplish some of the things you want. If you're listening, I call them the naysayers, whether it's in a book or Facebook or whatever, you can absorb the negative and not ever, until you decide that you want to absorb something differently, then you will continue to feed you will continue to feed off of that kind of negativity. So
Right.
that's what we don't want to do if we are working on reaching the goals that we've been assigned to have. All right. So developing your skills and talent is ongoing. So talk to us about that. Tell us about why they are ongoing, kind of like lifelong learners, right?
Right. But it's like the world is constantly changing. The world is not standing still. And as I was sitting here this afternoon thinking about it, and I was thinking about how the world changes. What if at one time they thought the world was flat. Remember, in your
Right,
history
right.
books, they thought the world was flat. Now, what if everybody had just sat around and was like, okay, well, the world is just flat, and they did nothing to compensate for it being anything other than that. And then when they discovered that it was not flat, it was round, what if some people just said, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And, they just they didn't know what they didn't know, but then they didn't want to listen. They didn't want to change. They just wanted to live in the old mindset. Old world's just
Mhm,
flat.
mhm,
Then you're flat because you're not trying to learn. Things change. You
mhm.
learn new things. You learn new words. You'll hear them every now and then say a new word has been added to the dictionary.
Right, right, right.
So they create new words. Just think about that. We have so many words. You look at a dictionary, that thing about this thick, and they're
It's
adding
huge.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm, mhm,
technology is coming out all the time.
mhm,
As you and I were talking, about today, we learned a year and a half ago, we didn't know how to do all this stuff on Zoom and
mhm,
StreamYard. All this
mhm,
is stuff that we learned. Now, what if we said, I'm not gonna try to learn that stuff, then I would just be in the house. Y'all wouldn't know about Build Your Best Life. We wouldn't know about
mhm,
the words have power. We'd just be
mhm.
sitting.
Right, right. You're so
So,
right. And like you were saying, when we choose not to learn anymore, we actually have a closed mindset.
all right,
And when we have a closed mindset, like you said, we're gonna stay in that same place that we've already been. And very true. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, we wouldn't have been all into Zoom and like you say, StreamYard. Those are things that's going to be, if they haven't already been added, they've been added to our vocabulary anyway, and will probably be added to the dictionary. So there used to be an old soap opera years ago called As the World Turns.
mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly what you're saying. The world is changing, things are changing, it's evolving. And if we don't go with it on those things that we need to go with, then we will find ourselves, like you were saying, I'm not going to learn StreamYard. Today I learned. Thank you, Ms. Deborah. But we won't be willing to learn something different, and we'll just stay in our isolated, where our Lord Coach Ricardo tells us, if you are not getting into this technology, you're basically going to get left behind,
Right.
because it's important that we take it upon ourselves and learn something that's going to be new. So
Yeah,
yes.
just as you mentioned earlier, you just be stagnant, and
Yeah.
that sometimes it's so funny. I was thinking about it too. A lot
Uh-huh.
of times there are concepts that you have no idea that they exist, and I'm going
Mhm.
to age myself when I make this statement. But
Okay.
of course, when I learned how to type, I learned how
Oh,
to type on
yeah.
a typewriter, right? And we were taught that when you get to a period or punctuation mark, you make two spaces, right?
Mhm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I've always typed like that.
Uh,
Nobody ever said anything different. So my whole life, that's when I went from typewriter to computer, that's what I continue to do.
mm-hmm.
About maybe 3 years ago, I was on a team project. And so we were doing different documents, and then we had this place where we would share them, and then the other person would look at them, and we had somebody to put them together. So the guy asked me, he said, well, what's this new thing with the two spaces in between the sentences? Well,
Mm-hmm.
all the younger people, I guess, when they got taught on computers,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't get taught to put double spaces. But I didn't get the memo that when you went to the computer, you didn't need double spaces anymore. So I never changed.
Right, right, right.
So, it just goes to show, if you don't research
Mm-hmm.
and Google stuff sometimes and
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
ask questions, you will never know. Because if he
You
had
would
said
never
anything, I
know.
would still be double spacing.
And it makes it so much easier now, huh? That you don't have to remember to do
Right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's amazing when you, like you said, when we think about, as the world has turned and changed and we see so many things that are so different, that we have to be able to keep in step with what's changing if we want to stay relevant with what's going on. So you're right. Yeah, I remember those typewriter days, girl. We had to have your hand placed on the home keys and all that kind of stuff. And now these kids type with one finger, and they
Right.
actually got it made. So yeah. But anyway, we're gonna move on. Do you why is it so valuable to glean from others? I think you kind of talked about that a little bit, about the importance of somebody being assigned to help us, but why is it important that we glean or take away something from others?
Well, as an example, you can read a book about a particular topic. So let's just say you're reading the book, but then on that same topic, you may see some diagrams,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, and so you're thinking, oh, okay, so that made it a little bit clearer. But then you were doing that in preparation for going to a class or workshop. So then you get there, and then that person begins to teach you based
Mm-hmm.
on their learning style, which may be PowerPoints, it may be handouts or whatever. But then you may get a whole different perspective. You might have been thinking one way, and then you hear what they have to say, and it's like, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
because people learn in different ways, people teach
Yes.
in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So some people, I gotta see the data. I gotta see the data. Like a lady called me
Mm-hmm.
today, and we've been getting our Sunday school material, of course, in books and printouts to put on the wall, but we didn't get our books in time this time, and she got digital, and they had all kinds of things. Not PowerPoint. They had it was PowerPoint, but it was PowerPoints for the lesson that was already put together. It had videos
Mm-hmm.
inserted in it. Was just great. And so I said, I'm always one of those that was the last one to get away from paper, because I don't like digital books. I mean, like,
Uh-huh.
but depending on what kind it is, but if it's like for school, I don't like digital books, because I like to
Mm-hmm.
be able to see it and highlight and write and put stickies. But
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah, go ahead and get it, because it did provide us with a lot of information. But if she had just said, let's go digital without me seeing the
Mm-hmm.
benefits of it, I probably would say, no, I want my book.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it's just, important that uh, you listen to others, get their perspective, because
Mm-hmm.
they've been there, done that. They know the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't know everything. You can learn
We don't.
something new every single day. And if you're
Mhm.
going to be someone that's not going to listen to others or have an open mind, I think you mentioned earlier, you're just going to be lost out there.
You will be, exactly. And so, yeah, I'm guilty of loving to, I always say I mess up a lot of trees when I'm trying to do something. Yeah, I need to flip some pages, highlight, but you're right, everything is going digital. And so that's one adjustment I guess I'm gonna have to learn how to make, but I still like to highlight. My sister, you can do that on there. I'll be like, no, not me. I can't do it. But also, what do you think about even when you are gleaning from others? I think you need not be afraid to ask questions from others, and you can't be afraid to get feedback from other people, because I think that keeps us limited as well, because I think other people, like you say, different perspective, different ways of learning, all of those will help you be able to glean something from them. And I always say, you may not need everything, but it may be that one thing that you need, that you take away, that's going to help take you to that next level. So I think it's really important to to ask questions. That's just key for because if I don't know, I'm like, okay, help. Don't I say that, Miss Deborah? Help.
Wait a minute, what is it you want me to do?
Exactly. Okay, send me a long text of details or something. But I appreciate that you're very patient with me on that. But yeah, I think, and like you said, we ask the questions, but I think we have to not be afraid to adapt. Is what I had to do today. Adapt to changes, and so be okay with making some changes that may not be what you thought it should be, but it will be beneficial to you in the end. We have some more comments, Miss Deborah. That's okay that you putting them in. So yeah, we can't be afraid. Well, we're gonna move on unless you had something else to add to that.
No.
Okay, all right. Well, share with our audience. I absolutely can relate to this story, and would you share with our audience why you wrote about Michael Orr? Just tell us the story. Is it Blindside that it was?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us that story.
Well, to me, it was a remarkable story, and that's just like a movie that I could watch every day, probably. But within that one story, there were so many teachable aspects that I was able to take away from it. It had, in there about helping others,
Right.
about overcoming obstacles, how everyone has someone assigned to help them, how God has a plan for our lives. And sometimes we're going through we're just going through the muck and mire, and we don't understand what is going on. But then when we get to the other side, we're like, oh, thank you, because we don't see it. And then one of the biggest things I got out of the story, as I was relating to this section of the book, was about everybody doesn't learn doesn't have the same learning styles. But of course, this story with Michael Orr, his mom had, multiple children. They had different dads. She was addicted, unfortunately, to drugs. And they just had a hard family life, because she was in and out of jail. Many times she didn't know, who was whom, and, who their dads were. And kids would get taken away. They would get separated. And so as this story begins, Michael is in, I guess, high school, and he has befriended a young man, and they allowed him to stay in the home for a little while. But the wife, she wasn't really with that. But while he was there, the father in that family took his son to this private school, Wingate. It was a Christian school. And he was telling them, he wanted to check out the school. It was a good school, and he knew he could pay for it for his son. He said, but I brought another young man with me. He's just really good at football. And this guy was just looking at him like, why are you even here? But then he looks out the window and sees Michael, and Michael is huge. And all he could think about was, if I only had him on my football team. So he, says that he talks the other people on the board to allow Michael into the school. But in the meantime, the wife doesn't want Michael at the house, so he gets kicked out. Michael has probably 2 shirts, maybe 1 pair of pants, and each night he goes to this laundromat and he sits around and watch people, and he'll wash out his shirt. And when he thinks somebody's not watching, he throw it in the dryer. And this is one lady, like, she knew what he was doing, but, she just looked at him, but she didn't say anything. And, at the school, everybody looked at him real funny because, again, he was a tall African-American young man. He didn't say much. He didn't bother anybody. And there was one family, the Tuohys, and of course, this is based on a real life story. And they were what we would call rich. They were the owners of the Taco Bell chain and other restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And they saw him one night. He had been, the dad had saw him because he was walking around, and where people, eat, they, when we have abundance of things, we're just wasteful. So,
We are.
he would eat out a bag of popcorn, throw it on the floor. He was going by finding the bags because he didn't have anything to eat. He was homeless. He had no relatives. He didn't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Tui had saw that. Well, then after the game, it had started raining and it was cold, and he was just walking down the street, and everybody was leaving the school. So he's walking down the street, rubbing his arms because he's freezing. And Mrs. Tui, she saw him, and she kind of like looked at him, and then she told her husband, turn this car around. And she goes back and she said, where are you going? And he said, nowhere, I'm going home. She said, don't you lie to me. Do you have anywhere to go? And she's like, no, ma'am. And so she turned around and looked at her family, and she has a teenage daughter and a younger son. But anyway, she takes them home with them, and this is the day before Thanksgiving. And she lets him sleep on her nice, expensive couch because, like I say, they're rich. And so when she wakes up the next morning, she's nervous about it the whole night. She's like, what if we wake up in the morning and everything's gone from downstairs? But she didn't check on him. But when she gets up the next morning, she goes downstairs. He's straightened up the living room. He's folded the blanket, and he's nowhere in sight. So she runs outside and she sees him, and she makes him come back. And she said, you don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving. So I'm not going to tell the whole story because we'd be here all night. But anyway, but it was so good. She eventually let him move in with them. But in the school, because the family had been displaced and homeless so much, they just moved him from grade to grade. He really didn't learn anything.
Right.
So they didn't want to be bothered with them. They were saying, oh, he's not capable of learning. He can't learn anything. Why do we even have him here? But it was one teacher. She watched him. But even though he could not probably read or write, he listened.
Oh, that's good.
Listened, and he absorbed. And if you asked him the questions, he could answer them. So she got the other teachers to buy in, and they began to work with him. And the Tuohys got him a tutor. And the story ended up being one of those tearjerkers, but it was a good story, because they took the stranger in their home. They helped him. They were willing to adopt him and everything else, but they really helped him, and he learned. He brought his grades up, and he, talking, because we all have something in here. And he had, a lot of aptitudes he did not have, but he had one thing he possessed, and that was protection. He would protect people. And so that was how Mrs. Tui got him to be able to play football, because at first he was like, I'm not hurting anybody. He just standing looking. But then she gave him an example. She said, you love us, right? She said, okay, just pretend that this person is somebody may gonna mess with the son or mess with me or whatever, and you're not gonna let them do it. And so that's when he began to tackle and whatever. So it was really good. But that just goes on to show you that, people do learn differently, and you have to give people a chance.
Absolutely.
You have to label people and, well, they just dumb. They can't learn. Don't bother with them. Be patient with people and give them a chance.
Exactly. That's a great story. And I'm like you, I could watch it over and over. But just like you said, it's so many teachable moments in that actual story. But, like you said, don't ever say what people can't do. It may be a different, like you said, a different learning style, but they can learn if they put their minds to it. And so, yes. And in the end, I love it because he went from actually rags to riches, right?
Right.
So it was a great story. And so you even talked about, in sharing Michael Orr's story, how important it is to listen, or listening is so important. How do we develop better listening skills? Because that was the aptitude that he had, and that was what he was able to do best. And that really began to help him. So how do we develop better listening skills?
Well, you know the old saying, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. But if you notice, Michael was quiet.
Very
He wasn't
quiet.
a talker, just talking, talking, talking. Some of us talk too much, so we're never paying attention or listening. And one thing that really is beneficial about one thing that people don't realize sometimes is communication is not just talking.
No,
And
it's not.
Toastmasters is great about bringing that aspect out of communication. It's a part of listening, is a big part of communication.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to listen, that doesn't mean that, I'm like this. And am I really listening to Carol, or am I thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner? What am I doing?
Exactly.
So listening is critical. That's something that is very, very important. So you have to, for one thing, remove distractions. And one of the biggest distractions people have when they're supposed to be listening is their own thoughts. And you may say, girl, I'm thinking about, this girl gave me this recipe about for this cake, and I'm gonna tell you what it have in it. And so instead of me listening to you and these ingredients you get ready to tell me about, I'm thinking about this cake that I gotta make tomorrow. So I'm not really listening to you. I might be looking at you, but I'm not listening. So, and then we want to be thinking about, okay, as soon as she finished, this is what I'm gonna reply. You're not listening. You got to empty all of that, out of yourself, and really pay attention to that person, because as you are listening, you really need to remove all distractions. So that's those thoughts out of your head, your surroundings, what you're going to be doing tomorrow, whatever. Give them your undivided attention. Get rid of electronics. And like they say, what a lot of people like to do, well, I'm just going to put it face down. So what is that if you put it face down? Because if you put it face down and it vibrates, what are you going to do? Pick it up and see who it was?
Exactly.
You either turn it off.
Instincts.
Right. You either turn it off or put it away. So you get rid of all those distractions. And then you need to be looking at that person. You don't want to stare them down. You look off every now and then, but you need to look at them, because a lot of people say a lot with their body, with their numbers. So, you say, well, Carol, I hadn't seen you in a while. How are you? And you say, I'm good. But I'm looking at you. I'm used to you smiling. You said, I'm good. You weren't smiling. Right. Oh, Carol, you sure you good, girl? Now, come on now. You know you can tell me. I thought we were down.
Yeah.
So you need to be looking at that person on what is it that they're not saying. Now, that's not how she normally talks. So I know something's not quite right.
Right.
So that's how we can improve our listening. And I think if we do a better job of listening to people, some of this, I think it'll help with this mental health that's going around. A lot of people suffering with mental health, and that is serious.
It is very serious. You're absolutely right. Actually, one of the young ladies at my church, and she was saying that she's a young adult, and she was saying, we've gotten away from talking because we talk in text, and we, and she said, and it was I enjoyed her conversation. She said, because a lot of times you can text somebody and just like you say, Miss Deborah, how are you doing? You can text me back and say, I'm doing well. But if I talk to you and listen to you, I'm more able to pick up that well really isn't well, if we're just texting or like you say, you got your mind on something else. Or one of the other things that people say, girl, let me tell you this before I forget it, and so we have to learn how to be sensitive to people who are speaking. Someone shared with me a long time ago, whenever you're in the presence of one person, make sure you stay in the moment and stay in that person's presence and not allow anybody else or other distractions to pull you away, because that person at that moment really should be the most important person talking to you or in your presence and than anything else, not what I'm off thinking about what I need to do, as you say, but I really need to make sure I'm giving them that undivided attention that they need. And if they're talking to me, we really need to do that. Yeah.
All right.
Great. Well, as we kind of get close to the end, I want to ask you one other question. In the book, you stated, don't be afraid to identify your God given talents to bless yourself and others with. And you reference Matthew 25:29. Please tell us more about this statement.
Well, the scripture, in the story actually comes from the parable of the rich man. I call him a rich man that was getting ready to go out on a journey, a trip, and so he decided to leave his place in charge of his servants.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, well, I'm going to leave you in charge according to your abilities. Mm-hmm. So then the first slave, he gave 5,000 gold coins. Mm. And then the second one, he gave 2,000. And then it was one he gave 1,000. Mm-hmm. Well, the one he gave the 5,000 gold coins to, he immediately went and invested it and ended up with 10,000 gold coins. The second person did the same thing. Even though he only had 2,000, he doubled that money and ended up with 4,000. Mm-hmm. When you get down to this third servant, he got 1,000. Mm-hmm. So you would think he would do the same thing. But the Bible says, he said in that verse, I was afraid, so I went off and hid your money in the ground. Look, here's what belongs to you. I got it. He thought he had did something. He brought the money back. But the master said, he looked at them all, and, he said to that first one, he said, I made you, I gave you dominion over my 5,000. You doubled it. Mm-hmm. You have done something great, good and faithful servant, Mm-hmm. And then the same thing to the second one. You took the money and you doubled it. So you did something great. You was faithful over what I gave you. You doubled it. He told that third one, you were just lazy. You just take the money. You said you was afraid of me. So if you were afraid of me, look like you would have did something to make sure that you had more money. You did something with it, but you went and buried it. So you just take that, my 1,000, and give it to the one that got the 10,000. Mm-hmm. So to him that knows how to manage better, that's who's going to get it. Right. So when God gives us talents, mm-hmm. I've heard this before. I think Coach said it, but I've heard it many times. They said there are so many books, movies, ideas, gadgets in the cemetery. Right? Because exactly. What? People gave us these great talents, mm-hmm. and we don't use them. We sit on them. We say we know what they are. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You never do anything with it. Mm-hmm. We belong to him. So when he gives us those talents, he wants us to use them to glorify him and to do things for us and to help others. Mm-hmm. So we are letting not only God down, but he wants us to be able to help others, and he's trying to help us as well. Mm-hmm. So that is why you need to take those talents, realizing what they are. Mm-hmm. And you got to ask somebody, you been around me a lot. What do you think I'm good at? You think you got to ask somebody and you got to get clarification. You might know, but you just want somebody to tell you. Go ahead and say it. Mm-hmm. And then do what you need to do to make it the best that you can. Like I say, if God designed you to mm-hmm. be a trash picker upper, mm-hmm. you need to be the best trash picker upper there is. Boy, did you see Deborah picking up that trash? Man, there wasn't nothing left on that ground, but Deborah finished. Mm-hmm. I mean, she got down there with the stick and she got everything. There was some little stuff. She raked that up, and she sucked some up with this big machine she had. Right. They said, Deborah is running the refuge service. Uh-huh. But whatever gift he gives you, you make it be the best that it can be. Mm-hmm. Because he's going to make it better and better and better. And you're going to glorify him. And you're going to help others. So it's just important. Just don't sit on your talents.
That is so key, and that is so good because we are supposed to multiply, disciples, but also multiply those things that He's given us. Because, like like you said, you're building your best life, but He also wants you to build the kingdom and reach out to other people, and don't hold all of your talents for yourself. It's about building your best life, and your best life is not living in isolation; it's living with other people. So, well, this has been great, Deborah, as always. I always look forward to our chat on the second Thursday. So, anything else you want to add as we close out?
No, I can't think of it. I mean, I just can't say that enough, though. Everybody, you shouldn't think, well, I wish I had been given that gift Kara got. Kara is great with words. Boy, if I had that. That's not what God wanted you to have. Be grateful for what He gave you and make the best of that. But use that talent that He gave you. Develop it. Just don't sit on it. This is just so sad when you think, I laughed when I said it, but about all the ideas and books and stuff that are in the cemetery, but it's true, So we're not doing anyone any service. We're just being a disservice to others when we don't use those talents to help others and ourselves.
Right.
That's what we're doing. So it's just beneficial.
Yeah, it definitely is. Absolutely. Well, all right. I look so forward to us connecting again. So thank you for once again having me, Miss Deborah. I always enjoy our conversations.
Yes. And I want to say, also make sure that you go out on my website. It's up on the screen, www.buildyourbestlife.org, and check out my blog that comes out each Monday. Check out my web store that has my services that I offer, which is coaching, consultations. I have my book out there. You can get your autographed copy of the book. It will help you. It will bless you. It will show you how to develop those talents and how to reach those SMART goals. And it has a section in the back for you to do those activities as well. So please visit my website. And Miss Carol, tell them about you and your words have power.
Yes, I always love talking about our words. And like you said, our dictionary is so full of new words and so full of words that we can continue to grow our vocabulary. But the power of words for me is what I articulate, I activate in my life. And so you really want to be very, very careful of the words that you put out there, because words have creative power. So sometimes we have to begin to look at what are my words created for where I am today. So I like to think that I'm very careful, and I'm working on that with myself to be able to think about what I put out there. But you can find me on Facebook with the Power Words with Carol Crockett. And also, Ms. Deborah, we're both having an opportunity to host on the Fishbowl Network Radio with Effective Living. And so Ms. Deborah is on the fourth Monday and I'm on the third Monday. So I look forward to you all joining us on that as well.
All right. And please, please, please tune in this Saturday, of course, during the month of September. My theme is Life is Like Football, because football and life have so many things that correlate. This Saturday, my topic is no fines, no penalties. So make sure you tune in. As well as you rise on this Saturday morning, please stop and give a moment of silence or prayer for those that were lost, injured, or who lost someone 20 years ago in the horrific act against our country on 9/11. I cannot believe it's been 20 years, but please take time out on Saturday in recognition of that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder.
All right. So as you travel on your road to being a better you, there will be distractions, pitfalls, rough terrain, and detours. Don't let any of these negative aspects of your journey stop you. Though they may slow you down, keep going to be a better you so that you can build your best life. And remember, building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan, it's our commitment. Thank you. Love you so much. Hope to see you Saturday. Be blessed and please stay safe.
Yes, wear your mask. Bye-bye.